Hey everybody, I'm Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I'm going to show you how you can paint this really fun and gorgeous, colorful dandelion puff that is just exploding joy into the world. On the mic is my husband, John.
Hello.
He's going to help me bring this fun lesson to you by making sure that the camera is pointing at what I'm demonstrating, that we're zoomed in when we need to be zoomed in, that you can see the palette the entire time. And he really helps me bring you these live classes. Now, this is part of a big challenge that I do with my community. From August 1st to August 31st, we are doing a new painting every single day because nothing gets you better at painting than actually painting and keeping that painting fun. So this is part of that challenge. Maybe you came by here just because you were like, this dandelion speaks to me and I must paint it. And I want to welcome you if this is why you're here. But I also want to say welcome to all the people who are doing the challenge from August 1st to August 31st. You guys are still in, you're still hanging in. Pat yourself on the back. This is going to be one of those fun days that helps you restore for our bigger challenge days. And there's really nothing to do but me to tell you that I'm also using these two tools in this particular challenge. I'm using the fluid acrylic titanium white, but that's optional. I have an alternative if you don't have that. And I'm using the toothbrush for the splatter effect. Get your paint, get your brushes. I'll come back and tell you the rest of the materials right now. So for today's materials, I'm going to have an 8x8 canvas. This particular canvas is the Art Alternatives Classic Cotton. On my palette, I have Mars Black, Cad Yellow Medium, Cad Red Medium, Quinacridone Magenta, Phthalo Blue, Ultramarine Blue, Dioxazine Purple, Phthalo Green, and in the center I have Titanium White. John, shall you throw up step one? Step one, I'm going to just paint it just some ultramarine blue. Whole thing. It's going to take a 3/4 inch angle brush and just paint the whole thing ultramarine blue.
You're just covering the whole surface?
Yeah, I'm just going to cover the surface with blue.
Whatever brush you really had handy.
It could be any brush.
The angle brush doesn't do something special here.
No, it's not remotely special. It's just one of my wider brushes. I can use my oval mops or I just need something bigger than a little teeny tiny brush.
So just get that paint down.
Yeah, just getting a thin layer of blue paint down. I'm also going around the edges here a little bit. You could paint the sides entirely if you wanted to, but I like to make sure that I go around enough so that if I frame, I can not have little white slips showing there. All right. Just painting the whole. I'm being messy about it too. I'm not being super neat. It's pretty. It's pretty scribbly.
Yeah.
And that's okay. We just want a nice little kind of coat of blue going on. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to want to dry it. And when we come back, I'll show you what we're going to do next. So now I'm going to want to do a kind of background where it's a dark kind of blue here in these outer edges, and then it vignettes into a lighter, more aqua blue. How I'm going to do that is I'm going to take a 1-inch oval mop. I'm going to get it slightly wet. And I'm going to take a little bit of my phthalo blue, my ultramarine blue, and my dioxazine purple together. And that's going to give me a deep indigo. See how nice and deep that is?
It's very deep.
I'm going to bring this around here, brush this around. I'm going to move fairly quickly because I do want some blending on the canvas. I can also, if I'm ever worried, mist with water. That was just regular water. It's just an alternate way to do it if you don't do glazing medium. I have that there. I'm going to rinse out my brush.
Don't do the glazing medium.
If you don't do it.
If you're glazing medium averse.
If you're glazing medium averse, I'm going to take a little bit of my phthalo green over to my phthalo blue. And I'm going to come to this sort of outside edge here. And blend the phthalo blue back into the deep dark blue, kind of making sure that I have a good blend going forward. I like to just blend, blend, blend. Blend, blend, blend. All right, so we're just getting that. I will take my water again and mist very high. I don't mist close because I don't want water droplets to mess with my finish. I'm going to add some white right in the center. and start to blend that out. It's kind of like a little C blend here, if you can kind of see that. It's a little C. I can always come back into my ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, Doc's purple. I want to come in and blend anything here back again. So it's just a back and forth, wet into wet, that I'm working. Nice little glow. All right. When you get that nice little blend in, you're going to dry everything. And when we come back, I'm going to show you what we're going to do next. So now I'm going to take, this is a Dritz chalk tool. My surface is completely dry and cool. So I'm going to take my Dritz chalk tool, and you could use a chalk pencil like we've been using chalk pencils. You could use a piece of chalk. This is a tailor's chalk tool that you can get at most places where they have sewing materials. And you can get them online. And Dritz is the maker, and I like that maker the best. I'm going to sketch in what I want my dandelion shape to be. Right? And then I'm going to bring a little stem curved back. You could use the traceable at this stage. Sometimes when I sketch in the stem, it changes how I want to position the dandelion. Sometimes it doesn't. But what I know I want is a biggin, you know?
Yeah.
All right. So it's very lightly sketched in. I have kind of an idea of how big I want to go. Now listen, if my surface weren't dry or cool when I sketch on here, it can make indelible marks, marks that I can't remove from the canvas. So you want to make sure that your surface is dry and cool. That's an important thing. All right. Shall we put up the next step?
We can, yeah.
We can. Woohoo, step 4. All right, I'm going to take a little bit of my green paint. I'm going to just get some phthalo green right on my brush, pure pigment, because this is a very bright painting. And I'm going to bring this up towards the little stem and stem area. So this is pretty dark. We're going to actually add a highlight to it in a minute, but we want to get this down first. Now I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow and make a bright yellow green that I come to the top of the stem with. Giving myself the double layer. I'm going to grab a little bit of my cad red and my cad yellow. And interestingly enough, I'm going to use some Mars black with this. And this is how I'm going to get into my browns and my other colors. Maybe a little more cad red and burnt sienna. See how I get a dark, dark color there? And it kind of registers as a brown. So from here, I'm going to wiggle back. Some little bits of little stamens. And then I will come from the center here and kind of think about how that's going to go out. Just starting to think about it. I'm going to be putting bright stuff around it, but if I know where it is, then I can start there. I'm going to come over and take a little bit of my phthalo blue and my titanium white. And add a few little pops of color there. Kind of messed up a line that I like. So whenever you mess something up that you like, you can just come back and put it back in. There we go. I just like the flow of that. All right, now I can come back with an even brighter yellow, maybe a little white this time, kind of make a very bright yellow-green. And come along the top edge. Of my stem. Kind of making that brighter there. Very dimensional. All right. So dry everything with a hairdryer. When we come back, I'm going to show you what you do next. I'm going to take my number 8 Raphael d'Artagnan brush, and I'm going to do the kind of underlayment for the glow behind the dandelion. I'm going to get it wet with some clean water, wipe it off on a nice towel so that it's not carrying too much extra water. I'm going to add a little white to my brush, and I'm going to come here on the outside edge, kind of making a little bit of a little touches of the fluff, right? Because you got little touches of the fluff. Bring it around the outer edge here. Come through here and start to paint out the yellow. Now, if your yellow isn't covering your blue at all, you may need to paint this white, dry it, and then come back and paint it again.
For coverage? For
coverage, yeah. 'Cause sometimes it's just unfortunate coverage. But the good news is we've got a couple layers here as it is, right? We want to do some nice dimensional painting. I'm going to kind of come back into the center because I can easily bring that dark back out. I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit of red. Maybe dust in a little bit of red through here. Bring it to the outer edges. Just right around here, little spots. I'm going to do a couple layers of color, so don't be stressed. I'm going to rinse that out, and I'm going to get a little bit of my white and my quinacridone. Make a bright pink. And a little bit of dusty following here. Kind of bleed some through here. Again, we're going to have so many little layers. All right, see how I'm bleeding a little pink in there? Doesn't mean I won't come back with some yellow in a minute. I'm just layering color. Make a little bit of my turquoise again. Maybe add a little yellow to it. And a lot of white. Just a few little lines around there. All right, so we've got that nice colorful puff, right? Looking pretty good. Looking kind of fun. I'm going to definitely want to dry this thoroughly with a hairdryer. So now I'm going to either thin my heavy body paint, and how I would do that is I would take a little bit of water over to it and work it in so that it's more fluid, right? Where I thin it, not watery, but where it's a little more fluid. Or I can use fluid acrylic titanium white, which is our optional. I'm going to put that right here. And I'm going to mix a little pink into my fluid white paint. Make a very bright pink. Just the quinacridone magenta. I'm going to rinse that out. I'm going to take a toothbrush. This is just a little extra toothbrush in a set of toothbrushes that I purchased. I'm going to bring this together. You can see how it's loaded. And I'm going to come right to the edge. And I'm going to splatter out a little bit of pink. Curving my hand. See how I'm splattering out a little bit of pink?
Oh, that's pretty.
Now, this can be a little hard on your manicure or other things around you. So just so you know, if you want to get acrylic paint out of anything, use rubbing alcohol. 91% is the best, but you can do 70. Sometimes I get a little more white on there, sometimes a little more pink. Now I might need to turn my canvas for just a little bit just to make sure that my splatter that's going out all right, it's just so we can make sure that my splatter that's going out is pink. Now I'm going to kind of rinse my brush a little bit. I'm going to dry it off with a towel. And I'm going to get back into my white. And again, you could use the white here, or you can, if you got the fluid acrylic, you could use that. Come through and add a little white to it too. Just a little contrast. This should show you a very energetic little dandelion puff. There we go. Just a little bit everywhere. You just got to be gentle with it. Now I'm going to want to dry everything. When we come back, I'll show you the next layer that you paint. So now I'm going to come back to my number 8 Raphael d'Artagnan brush. I'm going to pull some yellow out. Just some pure yellow. And I'm going to load it on the toe. I'm going to come here and flick out some bright yellow. Flick, 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 flick. Flick, flick, flick. Flick, 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 flick. I'm going to go ahead and add a few little pops of yellow in the fluff. We didn't splatter the yellow because it's cadmium, and I didn't want to encourage you guys to get your fingers in it.
Right, yeah. I can see that.
Just a little bit. Now I'm going to come in and get some pink. A little bit here and there. Come in and get some red. So very colorful. Little touches right here. So sometimes the pop of color is very light. It's just so that when we look at the finished piece, it's just really gorgeous. You know, it has all this rich color. I'm going to bring a little yellow over to my turquoise again. Turquoise color. I'm going to add some white to it and get that nice green aqua again. And just brush that out as well. You're not having to match the colors. That's not required. Little pops of color help create balance in the piece. All right, dry everything. So I'm going to take my number 6 Raphael sepia brush. I'm going to bring a little black over towards my red again. And we're going to mix that dark black brown. That's the Cad Red and the Mars Black mix. And we're going to come here and flick out the beginnings of the little stems. Can always come and get a little yellow in there. Just make sure that this has some little energy. See how that just kept that yellow going in that energy? Take a little bit of my orange. And add a little pop of color there to the bottom of that. Now let's call that a step and let's dry thoroughly, because the next part we're going to be doing a lot of detail work around here and you may need to rest your hand to steady it, okay? So when we come back, I'll show you what we do next. Now I'm going to want to take my number 6 sepia and I'm going to get into my white acrylic. You're either going to use your thinned white or you're going to use your fluid white. I'm going to come out here and very carefully, little stem, and then flick, 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 flick. Just a little bit of one. This is kind of a fussy process. I'll come here. Right, you just bring that out to the edge. The little flying zones of dandelion. Now I'm going to come and divide this section in the middle. And we'll flick there and a little bit there. I might turn my canvas a little bit. Let me make sure I'm not losing my little spots.
You got to be able to turn it to make your
I just want to be able to just have good lines, so I turn it just so I do. And kind of divide this space in half. Flick, 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 flick. This is, by the way, a gorgeous big painting. If you decide to do this big, this is one of those ones that'll look good big. And then I will come in and divide this in half. It's going to be a weird short. Because it turns.
That's okay.
And flick, 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 flick. And I'm just keeping it to the white paint, right? Let's divide this in half again. So it's this half and half divide that's really going to help us get there into the first filling of the dandelion. Dividing it in half again. Now that doesn't mean that I won't just keep layering, layering, layering. I will. But by making it, you know, these little measured moments where I am coming in and filling in will give me a nice radius. And keep the dandelion from looking like a total hot mess. Like right now, it kind of looks like it's very, very rigid, and I'll start filling it in kind of differently. Like I might come in here and this one might be a little bit lower. Just come in between. These are just a little bit lower. So I'm just sort of filling out the whole puff. Yeah. Giving it like some...
Plenty of puffs.
Plenty of puffs. It needs all the puffs it can get.
I like them.
I can even come in and fill in a spot and then bring the little stem to it. So there's a couple ways to get it in here. So see how I can go back the opposite direction?
Yeah.
So if you have an area where you're having an easier time than other times, you know, don't worry about that. You're going to be okay. See, it's very full and fluffy. All right. And come through and just make sure that my outer fluff looks good. Made a little longer one there. I'm just fluffing the fluff. Just on the toe of my brush. Some people notice like I'm holding it closer. So if I hold it further back, I end up with a looser stroke but less tight control.
That makes
However,
sense.
It's easier on my hand over time, but holding it up close lets me have like up close control to what's going on. Now, I don't actually want to dry it because I want some blending to happen on the canvas, but let's call what I'm going to do next another step. Okay, in step 10, I'm going to grab some yellow and a little of my white, my fluid white, making a bright yellow. I still want it to be pretty yellow. I'm going to just flick this around with that bright yellow. See how I'm doing?
Yeah.
I'm going to rinse. Take my black back over to my red. And just flick this back out too. Just to make sure that we've got a nice little blended little deal. And I'm going to come in and get a little of my orange. And add a little orange flick to that. I'm letting it blend on the canvas. And I'm sending out those little stems. Come in and get a little bit of the black and red. And just make sure that I've got little stems coming down. All right. Then you want to take a look at it and ask yourself, how cheerful is it, right?
It's super cheerful.
Super cheerful. I'm going to add a little more white and yellow together. And I'm going to make sure that I also flick out a little white and yellow kind of through here to make sure that it's very visibly full. This is going to do well on Pinterest.
It's super pinnable.
It's super pinnable. It's a very pinnable little dandelion. Now, once I get that all in, I'm going to want to take my fluid white acrylic or my thinned white, I'm going to come over to my pink, load it on the toe of my brush, come here in the lower corner, and give a cute little pink signature. To just make sure that my signature looks nice. So
yeah.
That is the festive dandelion.
That looked out so good.
Didn't that come? That was just a fun joy. Sometimes when you're in a big daily painting, you got to do stuff that's just for fun. But that's also just really design-wise, like engaging to your brain. All right. When I come back, I'm going to tell you what we do next. So that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed sharing that with you today. I know I needed something a little bit lighter to paint today, something that was a little bit of a taste, a little bit of an amuse-bouche for my art today. And I feel like this definitely satisfied that. I feel like there were many, many playful moments. And I definitely want to see your version of this painting. So hashtag the Art Sherpa or hashtag Acrylic August, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, any of the places that you're sharing your artwork. Also over on Facebook, I have 2 closed groups where you can share my tutorials that you do with me in those groups, and you'll be like surrounded by kind people who have done this challenge before and who will be able to encourage you or to celebrate you or to lift each other up, because that's what the group is about lifting each other up and helping each other know that we can do this journey on the good days and on the challenging days. So think of those groups as your resource. Be sure to check out theartsherpa.com and sign up for the newsletter. Because that's where I always try to send out a newsletter and let you guys know what new lessons are coming. I do at my slowest 3 a week. And obviously at my speediest 2 a day.
You get a couple done there.
So like you're getting 2 a day right now between the shorts and the lessons. So having the newsletter really can help you decide what paintings you want to do, what challenges you want to jump in, what courses you want to take part in. So definitely sign up for the newsletter. Definitely come by the Facebook groups. Kind of a plug, we have an art store. So any of the things that you saw here today, except for the toothbrush, is available for sale on our art store. And so if you need to restock, that's really cool. I've also got a Patreon. If you want to support cool free programs like this, you can go check that out. Any of those things really works for me. And at that point, I just have to say to you, be good to yourself. Please be good to each other. And I want to see you at an easel real soon. Bye-bye.